Our gang is sexy. Let's talk about Antietam here. Now, just so everybody knows, my River of Death GBACW game, I did not take it down. It's set up in the big table, but that one's going to take me pretty good amount of time to play. So I'm going to use my little table here where I can play a couple of one mappers, maybe just do some in between stuff as I'm playing turns out in that. So I bought this game. Comes from Command Magazine. It's made by XTR Corporation. It's the issue 22 from May to June 1993, and it's called Antietam, Burnished Rows of Steel. Now, I bought this thing thinking that it was part of a system of 3 other games I have. And the 3 other games were Fateful Lightning, Death Before Night or something. And it was the Chickamauga. Oh, no. See, it was Shiloh, Chattanooga, and Gettysburg. I think that's what they are. But this is not. This is not part of that system. It's a completely different system. And this is unique, okay? A lot of Civil War games here that I've played. Y'all know that. But this one here has a system that I don't think I've encountered for commitment, activation, and an interesting solitaire bot. Now, let's do the solitaire bot first. If you're going to play solitaire using the bot, you got to play the Confederates because you're on the defense, all right? And you use the bot for the Union, for the Army of the Potomac, for McClellan. Now, the bot has a priority list. It starts with like 3 beginning points for the priorities, like can a unit attack? I don't know, like unit stacked with artillery. It's got like three different things you use, and then it has a priority list of what the unit should do when it's activated. All right. Now it's pretty simple with First Corps because they're attacking. So you have what you call these objectives when you play in the solitaire game, and when a corps becomes active, you roll on this Union Corps objective table right here. So like First Corps, well, if you have to roll. First Corps, their first objective is Dunkirk Church. 12th Corps has to activate, and their first objective is Dunkirk Church. If they reach and clear their first objective, then you go to the second one and you got to roll a dice to see where you're going to go. So like for the First Corps, on a 1 to 4, they go to Hex 1032, and for a 5 to 6, they're going to go to Sharpsburg, okay? And you have this all the way across. So that's one little thing. So now you have their objectives. Then, like I say, I'm used to the lock and load tactical solitaire assistance that you have like a flow chart. Well, this isn't a flow chart. This just has a priority list, and you just use the thing that's in the priority depending on what the unit is attempting to do. All right. So like a unit that can attack. So if he's got enough movement points, say this guy, one of these guys right here, like First Corps, they weren't all able. Only these first 2 units were able to move and get into an enemy zone of control, which would cause them to attack, okay? These guys were too far back, so it was move with these guys. These guys moved into attack. And let me tell you something here. This unit right here was a 6-step unit. He's only got 2 steps left. This guy here's got 4 steps left. One of Jackson's regiments, he took a step loss. He's got knocked back. This guy here, he's taken 2 step losses already from Ewell. So you have multiple counters for units that have multiple steps. And of course, they're all nice and color coded, so you can separate who the corps are. And you can see 5th and 2nd and 11th. Now, in this game here, First Corps, each of the corps is a formation. But the 11th Corps is, even though it's just one corps, there are 4 formations. So when you're playing solitaire, they have 4 markers, what they call their formation objective markers. They have 4 of them. And you put them in a cup, and you draw them blindly. You draw 2, and you put them on the lower bridge as the objective. And then you draw the other 2 and put them in these fords down here, okay? And those are the objectives for each of the divisions. So that's going to be interesting when they activate. Now, the game also has, let me get this over here so you can see it. You can only have 2 corps committed at a time for the Army of the Potomac. So initially, 1st and 12th Corps are committed and they're fighting. They're doing their thing. Every turn, you roll for withdrawal, okay? And you roll for unavailable formations to become available. An available unit can be committed. However, you can only have 2 corps committed at one time. This is to I guess, account for McClellan's indecisiveness or his lack of wanting to commit his whole entire army to crush Lee's army, okay, the Army of Northern Virginia. So that's what this is representing. I think that's, and I got a feeling it's going to do a pretty good job. We'll see. It does say in the designer notes the game's going to be very bloody for step losses, and you can actually reconstitute some of the steps. You can just never reconstitute, I don't think, back to full strength, but you can reconstitute losses. And that's, that's accounting for picking up stragglers and stuff as the fight goes on, as the tide kind of goes back and forth with the fighting, if it does that, in fact. All right. Combat movement rules, they're not real tough. They're pretty simple. You have artillery, too. They can shoot. If artillery fires, they can't move, blah, 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 like a lot of games like that. And here's the trick. So on the next turn, right now, 1st and 12th Corps are committed. In order to be committed, you have to be available, which you'll see 2nd, 9th, I'm sorry, not 11th Corps, I said 11th Corps, 9th Corps. And then you have 6th Corps, which they don't even come into play really until the 6th game turn 6. They're not even on that. They come in as reinforcements. And the 5th Corps is unavailable. So at the start of each turn, you have phases where you roll to see if a unit can be available. So you'll roll for the 5th Corps to see if they can be available. But you also have a withdrawal roll, where you're going to roll for withdrawal on the 1st and the 12th Corps. If they withdraw, there's rules where you pull them out and away from combat. It literally just stops their attack. And it's that thing in line of battle where an attack can be stopped. I can't think of the top of my head. But if one of these two gets withdrawal, you have to activate in sequence. So 2nd Corps would have to be activated next. So then that fight will get going over here somewhere. And so that's kind of a pretty cool mechanism. I can't think of any game. I've seen games with activation, stuff like that, but not anything like this where you have unavailable, available, and then committed, and you have a limit to, maybe under different terms, but you can only have 2 formations, so 2 corps committed at a time. So that limits the amount of force the Army of the Potomac has engaged in fighting at any one time. Not more than 2 corps. So this is going to be, it's only 11 turns, and I've already played the first half of the first turn. And when you have combat in this game, you have 2 combats. So if you're not playing the Solitaire game, you're playing 2-player. If you have your first combat phase, and let's say these 2 units here attacked in their first combat phase, if they're still in an enemy zone of control when the second combat phase starts, they don't necessarily have to attack. But in the Solitaire game, the bot for the Union provides certain conditions that says they have to attack. And you just follow those conditions. Like, if he's still in an enemy zone of control at the start of the second combat phase, and the odds are favorable for him to attack that unit, it might be like the odds might be 0 or +1 or +2 or something like that, then he has to attack. They just have different circles. They have the bot proceedings or bot rules for withdrawal, advance, and everything. And it's for a game from 1993, it's actually pretty cool. All right, I can't wait to see how it all plays out using that bot with this game here. So, and now, just my first impression, this has not quite the old SPI touch to it, but similar with the woods and the way the water is and the crest lines and stuff, or the ridge lines or the upslopes or whatever. Orchards, don't remember seeing too many of that. Your cornfields, okay, which these don't block line of sight or anything like that. Really no cavalry, because the cavalry was out. You had Stewart over here to the left, but they only put the units that were necessary. They didn't put that whole shebang over here. And you had the entire cavalry corps protecting the middle bridge, and there's rules for the Confederates to not go near that bridge. And if Confederates go near non-committed units, you can fire artillery at them all day long, but if they go to non-committed units, if they get in the enemy zone control of a non-committed unit, they can activate that unit or whatever. Artillery, base range of artillery in this game is like 8 hexes. Not a whole lot of terrain features to deter firing. The Union does have a couple batteries somewhere over there. I think they can shoot like 20 hexes, so you can shoot almost across the map, right? But yeah, 18 pages of rules. The bot covers like the last 3 or 4 pages, so it's pretty simple, pretty easy reading, and boom. I was going to start playing it the very night I finished reading it, but it was a little late in the evening, so I decided to hang on. All right, so we got this going. This is Antietam, Burnished Rose of Steel, XTR Corporation, 1993, in Command Magazine, issue 22. Let's get this up so you can see this little small footprint game that's pretty cool. And if anybody knows if there happens to be any other games that are just like this, I'd sure like to know because I'd like to get my hands on them. All right, let's get this up. Talk to y'all soon.